Hi, everybody. I'm Matt with K15T, and welcome to our live stream where we are going to explore creating a Rovo agent for doing some content coaching on a team. But really, what we want to focus on today is all around, hey, Ada, want to focus on how to really be good at prompting, because prompting is kind of the whole thing with agents. It's kind of like, how software engineers typically write code. Prompting is how we help AI understand, or I should say LLM AI tools like Rovo and Gemini and ChatGPT and others, how to do the things that we need them to do. And the way we prompt, the way we say things, what we ask for, and even what we don't ask for really impacts what those AI tools do. So, couple of things. If you have a question, and I really hope you do, please drop your thoughts in the chat. Yes, there is a live chat because we are live. Maybe with just just hashtag question at the beginning, that would be really helpful. That way I can spot them in the chat. That would be really awesome. So hashtag question if you are asking a question. Also, if you would hit the like button in YouTube, that is good for us. It tells more people to come on over. And also, if you would maybe hit that subscribe button in YouTube as well, because we are constantly doing live streams about Rovo, Confluence, the rest of the Teamwork collection, and of course, we're dropping video content all the time as well. So hit those two buttons. Ada, thank you so much. I assume your hairstyle is excellent as well. This is the get this thing off my neck or I will scream. And so here it is. Voila. Now, I wanted to introduce you all because I am not alone. I am joined by Andrei on my team. Andrei, nice to have you here.
Hi, Matt. Hi, everyone.
Andrei is joining me because, Andrei, as far as I'm concerned, you are the expert in prompting at K15T. I would say, I hope I'm not insulting anyone else by saying this, but you have shared several social media posts. You've shared several internal blog posts, sharing best practices with everybody internally. So I wanted to make sure that I brought you on so I wasn't here alone trying to tell people the best way to do things, since you obviously have a lot of experience. And you've been using a lot of different AI tools for a bit now, right?
Yeah, almost every day. But here I'm also to learn something new from you and maybe to share some my experience in prompting.
Okay. All right. I would love that. So one other just very interesting thing is, as of this morning, Rovo is having some technical difficulties. So as much as Andrei and I will work hard to make this all make sense, we might have some experiences with Rovo where we are not getting the results we expect. So if that's the case, obviously Atlassian is actively working on this. If that's the case, we will pivot over to another AI tool, because the best practices we are exploring today can work in all the tools. Hi, friends in France. Hi, friends in North Carolina. Ooh, right off the bat, this is a great question from Ada. I think I'd love to ask you this, Andrei, before we start. What's your favorite AI tool currently?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the needs and on the task. So for coding, it's something like Cursor and latest models from Anthropic. For chatting, it's ChatGPT. Yeah, and for everything related to Atlassian products, Rovo, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. I would say for me, I started using Gemini just because I was trying to do some stuff with Google Workspace, and then I did some vibe coding stuff with Gemini that was really awesome, just very collaborative and stuff. So I mean, it's my favorite currently, not because of any real proper research, more just opinion, I guess. Yeah, others are saying Gemini and ChatGPT. Yeah, the stuff from Anthropic, I've heard so many great things around coding with that. Some really, really cool stuff. Okay, everybody, remember, if you have questions, please drop a hashtag question in the live chat with your question. Please flood us with questions because we would love to hear them as we're going along. And also hit the like button in YouTube if you have not already. Already we have a question. We will get to that in just a minute. We're going to get into things. So first off, one of the things that I wanted to do was, while we're talking about best practices here, I actually wanted to build an agent together because that's always really, really cool to kind of put everything into practice. So one thing that both Andrei and I agree on is don't just start writing a prompt by yourself. You can create notes for yourself or start talking to your team about what you would like to create in an agent, but don't just start writing it by yourself because what you just won't create as good of a prompt as you really want. So what I did was I was actually chatting with Gemini yesterday. Yeah, that's right. You don't have to talk to any one particular AI tool to create great prompts. So what I was doing was I was chatting with Gemini and I was saying, hey, I have this idea for a content coach agent that I'd like to build for my team. And I would love for you to interview me about it and what I would really like for it to do with my team. So right away, I want to introduce the fact that when we're creating agents, the first thing we really should do is start by sort of dreaming something up. It's really important that we think about what could this thing do, as opposed to how do we just replicate, something we've done in the past, or how do I make it do exactly what a human does currently? Instead, it's great to have a conversation almost like you would with other people when you are brainstorming. I did this with Gemini, and we came up with this. So had a long conversation about things that I think would be great for this agent to do, ways that it would be helpful for my team. And then I asked it to give me a summary of the things that are most important for this agent. So it summarized some core features here. So one is that it highlights our style guide, so our corporate style guide, so that when people are getting coached on the content they have written, that it's not just basing it off standard American English, but also it's actually looking at our company's corporate style guide. Another thing is that it provides real-time coaching. So I felt like for this agent, it was important not to just have it be a spell checker, but that it can help my teammates and myself learn more. So it actually, we want to include in the prompt that, hey, friend, this should actually teach as we go, as well as help us get the work done. Another thought that I had was it would be really cool to have it sort of remember the things that it's taught me in the past so that it can actually like grow on that learning. So what I was thinking was, I could have it sort of store a log of all the things that we've learned so far so that when I use the agent again, it's like, oh, it's Matt. Okay, what have we worked on so far in teaching Matt more about how to write great content here? And then what can we work on from there? And then finally, and Gemini came up with this name. I don't love this, but shareable learning nuggets, which is like the idea of potentially I could have it, if with my permission, post a message to Slack and say, hey, Slack, here are some, or Slack chat, I should say, like my team chat. Hey, here's a thing I learned about writing content today that might be useful for you in your learning. I don't know, thought that might be interesting. And then there's a few considerations around user experience, make sure that it incorporates different styles of learning, yada, yada, yada. So this is a really nice place to start because now I have sort of a list of goals, things that I think are really important. Rustim loves nuggets. Learning nuggets though, Rustim, I don't know. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Just wanted to say, please hit that like button if you would. That is good for YouTube. It eats that stuff up. We have a couple of questions, but I think I'm going to wait just a hot minute so we could maybe start here a little bit. So before we get started, I was curious, Andrei, do you have any thoughts that you would add to like these initial notes that came out of Gemini for like what we should think about for our agent?
No, it looks good initially.
Okay, all right.
The question is always, which I ask myself, should we create one agent with all these tasks, or should we split it to multiple agents? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, that's a very good question. And also, yeah, there's the question of, do I create multiple agents or do I create one agent with multiple scenarios? Because there are the two things. In general, our recommendation, and you can check out our live stream recording and also our video about Rovo agent best practices. The best way to think about it is think about an agent as a job role, so an event planner or a content creator, and think about scenarios as the specific tasks they do. So an event planner would do communication and some scheduling stuff and meal planning, those sorts of things. If you're realizing that those are tasks that are very specific to that job role, but if you're realizing you're starting to ask your agent to do tasks that just really don't have much to do with the single agent itself, that's when you might want to break it off because you're talking more like another job role rather than tasks that a single person might do. So that's a good question. I guess we're gonna figure that out as we go here. Some shout outs for Claude Code here. Some shout outs for Chat GPT. We don't, if Rovo's not your thing, it's all right, y'all. That's okay. We're here. We're looking at Rovo today, but the cool thing is all these AI tips that we talk about here, you can use with any tool you have at your fingertips. You might get different results because of the different models and things, but all of these are applicable across our different tools. Really quick, someone had a question because I mentioned scenarios, different scenarios that agents can run. Someone asked why we can't use deep research in scenarios within Atlassian Studio, like when we're making agents. That's a good question. I don't know. That would be really nice. I think they're probably worried that you would use too many deep research prompts. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I wish I knew the answer to it. And there's another question about the remix tool, which we can look at later. I actually haven't seen that announcement, so that'll be pretty cool. Okay, y'all. So first of all, a best practice for creating agents is always be chatting. So as I mentioned, it's not best practice for us to start writing a prompt. It's actually best practice for us to have another conversation with an AI tool and have it create a prompt, which is crazy, I know, but these tools are actually very, very good at creating prompts for them, for the same model and for other models as well. So I'm going to open up Rovo chat here, and we're going to see what Rovo can do here, because like I said, it's been all 6-7 today, so we're gonna see if it's gonna respond here. So one of the nice things about using Rovo in this case is it already has the context of our page, so you can see that right here. So it already knows this is what's really important to us. So I'm going to start having a conversation here. We're going to tell Rovo, hey, we really want to build an agent that focuses on these core features and also takes these considerations into mind. We can talk about some other things like voice and tone, like whether it should sound very corporate and official, if it should be more relaxed. Are there other considerations that you think I should ask for here, Andrei?
No, but maybe we should explain why it's important. Because you've mentioned a few cool things like tone and so on. Why it matters. Why it doesn't understand your ideas. Why it's not reading your thoughts. Because it's AI, it's pretty smart, right?
It's true. But if we don't tell it, hey, you are an American English instructor, then it's just going to operate off its base understanding of, I'm this model, whatever. So we can give it a role like that. Voice and tone. If I don't say, hey, these are students, students that you're working with, so keep your answers short. Make sure you don't use complicated vocabulary because they're improving their English right now. Then it's just going to use its base settings, whatever those are. Are there other things other than like voice and tone and like that role that you think we should mention in this initial conversation, Andrei?
It depends on the case, yeah, but it's always better to be as more specific as possible.
Yeah, being specific is super valuable because not only can you help Rovo understand what it should do, or your agent, I should say, it also sometimes helps it understand what it shouldn't do. You may have heard the term hallucinating, where you're having a chat or you're working with an agent and it's starting to do things where you're like, that's a little weird. Being more specific helps it, it's building rails for it. It helps it understand what are the standard operations it should do and what things maybe should it not do. All right, so
yeah, exactly.
Oh, go ahead.
I have one example which
Yeah.
I like the most when explaining what you should explain and what's not. Imagine that you are talking to barista in the coffee shop you like the most. He is very motivated. He knows everything about all the types of coffee, but it do exactly what you ask. If you ask him, make a best coffee for me, it knows all the best recipes in the world, but for one person, best coffee, it's double espresso. For another one, it's maybe a very sweet cappuccino. And it depends. So you need to be very specific, and it will make you the best possible coffee. But if you will explain what exactly is best for you,
I love
how
I
it
love
should
that.
be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if anyone was wondering, this is not the best coffee. I made this really quickly before the stream, and it is peeling the skin out of the inside of my mouth. But I'm going to keep drinking it. I think that's so good. Yeah, because there is a sense of, the way LLMs work. It's kind of a trick, or it's not a trick. It's a function. And it's very cool and it's very useful. But if we want it to have a certain personality or behave a certain way, we have to be specific about that. Otherwise, it's just going to behave in the way that is like default, which is the same with any, if we bring a coworker on our team, we could just let them do whatever they know how to do, or we could train them, right? We could show them, this is how we do things here. These are the processes we use here, these sorts of things. Really, really nice having y'all subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining, everybody. Great shout out from Rakib about saying, hey, it's great to say, hey, ask me questions if you're unclear about something. We will definitely include that. Also, Ada, I totally get you that I don't like writing down all of these things that are common sense. That's why I'm gonna use voice to text here. All right, so y'all, let's have a conversation with Rovo. Let's build a prompt for this thing. Let's see what we can do. And the nice thing is I already had a conversation with AI, came up with some core features that are important and some considerations. I ran this past my team already, and they're like, okay, yep, those things would be awesome. Go try to make the thing. So here I am, and I'm going to use voice to text. You're going to watch Mac OS really struggle here. You can use voice to text on any operating system you're using. This is a really great way to interact here because you can just kind of talk. All right, so here we go. Let's see what happens. Hi there, comma. I would really like to create an agent that provides the core features and considerations listed here on this page, period. It's really important to me that it has a casual, instructive tone and doesn't use too much vocabulary because the people using this agent are not just creating content quickly, comma, but they're also trying to improve their American English skills. Speaking of, comma, this agent should be an expert in American English writing using modern tonality. Period. That said, comma, when the agent interacts with people, comma, it should use simple language to help those who might not have an extensive English vocabulary, period. Whenever the agent is confused about something or needs clarity, it should always ask, period. It should never assume, period. Also, comma, I lost my thought. What was I going to say? Can y'all hear me when I'm doing that? I don't even know if you can. I don't know if it's cutting the mic. You are seeing it written at least. There was another consideration that I had in my head that I've forgotten. Andrei, can you think of anything? Oh, I'm not even showing my screen. I'm so sorry, y'all.
I think it looks good. You have the last sentence, which force LLM to check itself before producing the result.
Yes.
It's always a good idea.
Always a good idea, for sure, yeah. Also, you noticed that that I asked it to use American English with modern tonality. That's another interesting thing. You know, we want to make sure that many people, for example, learned English, American English, watching Seinfeld, which is great. Except Seinfeld is from the '90s, so it might not have the most modern tone. So here we go. We're gonna give this a try. Okay, I'm checking to see if there's any questions from anybody. All right, we're gonna throw this into, and actually I'm going to copy this whole thing in case Rovo just has the worst trouble here. Now, one other thing you can do with Rovo, it right now picks which model it uses to kind of think through things. If you really want to make sure it's doing its best work, you can manually select Think Deeper. Deep research is only for researching stuff. Do not do the thing. But I'm going to select Think Deeper to make sure that it's using that model that is just better for logical thought like this. While this is doing its thing, someone asked, can we have a lock option for scenarios? So again, this is about when we actually create an agent. It can do different scenarios in Rovo. You can't lock certain scenarios, but you could give only a few people permission to edit the agent, if that helps. I'm not sure if that answers your questions. Someone asked, can the link to these instructions be shared later? I never want to share too much because models change so much that results, are very differing. But the transcript for this will be available on YouTube, so you can check that out. Also, oh no, okay. Here we are, everybody. So our good friend Rovo is just having a down day. It's having a network error. I'm gonna try resending this, but okay. All right. Okay. All right. So Atlassian is actively addressing this. We have all had days like this. So here's what I'm going to do, y'all. Because like I said, the best practices for working with AI is best practices for working with AI. So let's jump over to Gemini. Okay. We're gonna see what Gemini can do to help us. But the one thing that's a little different is Gemini does not have access to this Confluence page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this text and we're going to jump over to Gemini and drop this in. For context, please refer to these. All right. Y'all, we are doing well with what we are working with right now, which is, it's a Monday. Okay, core features and considerations. I'm gonna copy this and core features and considerations. All right, Andrei, does this seem like a good workaround, and we'll just see what happens?
It's a perfect workaround.
Yeah. All right. Also, I was going to say, for those folks that really like you don't like to write, or even like voice to text isn't great, using a tool like Gemini is really nice because there is, if you're using the Gemini mobile app, make sure you're using your safe corporate account, but there is a mode to have a full conversation with Gemini, and that has been very helpful for me as I have been like ideating and thinking about things, because sometimes just having a real conversation really helps your ideas start to flow. So would recommend that. They do not have that available in the web app yet. There's just a mic icon that just lets you do voice to text. You have to use the mobile apps for some reason. One other thing is I've switched to the I'm in the pro model. I'm going to just do the thinking model. Again, there's kind of like the really quick, but not as thought through model. And then there's the thinking one that is a little bit more logical. And that's the one I want to use here. I'm going to let Gemini do some stuff with that. And let's see if we can look at some questions. Andrei, somebody mentioned Atlassian's announcement today about the Remix tool and the MCP/third-party agents. Have you seen this announcement?
No, I haven't checked it yet.
Yeah, this sounds fascinating. I want to just pull up LinkedIn and see it right now. I'm not going to do that on a live stream. That seems like a bad idea. But I can pull it up over here on my iPad and see if I can find it. Y'all, if anybody has a link to that story, would you drop it in the chat? That would be really helpful for us. Also, I'm just scanning through to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Why does an agent sometimes switch models when I run it again? Atlassian plans in future, or does Atlassian plan to have a model selection, or are there other ideas? That's a very good question. Have you experienced that, Andrei?
Yes, I've experienced it also. And as far as I understand, they're doing it to find the best model which fits particular request. So every time when you run any new chat and start conversation with Rovo, it tries to fit the best possible model for this particular case.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of the models, from the very small one for summary, for grammar checks, and so on. This combination of very smart one, the most complex one, which are doing the deep research and other things. Which model will be used for your particular request? Currently, it's not under control. You can just ask for more effort or less effort from the model, but you cannot choose the particular one. Will Atlassian change it in the future? We don't know these plans yet.
Yeah, and part of it is Atlassian's also just trying to minimize how much computation power is being used, which is a very ethical thing to do, because we don't want to consume more resources than we need to, especially because these LLM developers are not being conscious of that, and they need to be. Also, it's obviously a financial decision for Atlassian and for us, because if we are just using so much power, the cost of using AI tools like Rovo will go up. So yeah, there's a trade-off happening there for sure. It would be nice to have the control. Another thing that just happened was all agents have been switched over to using the Gemini Fast model by default. They were using another model before, and Atlassian announced that, and they've made that switch. I think everybody has experienced that switch at this point. So things are happening, and things are changing. It's a good question. Okay, let's take a look at what Gemini did for us, because Rovo's having a little nap. Okay, so first of all, Gemini it's always hyping me up. Oh, this sounds fantastic. Wow, what a great idea. Okay, thank you so much. So it's defining here's the personality for the agent. Simple and clear, encouraging, modern, curious. Wow. How do Americans actually talk and write in 2026? I don't know, y'all. Okay, some core instructions, coaching and proofreading. Okay. Style guide and culture. And again, this is not the prompt. This is Gemini kind of feeding back to me that it understands what I said. Yeah, watch for patterns if users make the same mistake 3 times. Create a mini lesson for them. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's see what that does. Keep a progress log. Okay, so here's one I want to zoom in on a little bit. Keeping a progress log, because I've actually thought about when I was brainstorming with Gemini to create that initial list, I was like, oh, I want this to be in a Confluence page, this progress log, so that anybody can go and look at that at any time and see what they've learned. And also with the shareable nuggets, I don't know why I don't like that. Sorry, Ristim. So what I'm going to do, all right, it's just given us so many details. So I'm going to clarify here. So I'm going to say a couple of things. When creating the learning log, I want the agent to save the log on a Confluence page specific to the person, period. So the first time the person uses the agent, I want the agent to ask them what page or live doc they want to use for their log, period. That way people can reference what they've learned at any time. Also, my team uses Slack for messaging, so when learning nuggets are shared, please share them to my team's Slack channel. Okay, awesome. So let's put that in. That's going to clarify some things. Andrei, are there other things you think we should clarify, or should we jump in and ask it to create a prompt for us?
It already sounds good. Maybe we should explain what the actions or the verbs you define it. What the idea, what the goal?
Yeah. Tell me about it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that maybe someone new to Rovo does know the concept of skills, what the skills means and why they need it.
Yes, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Yeah, so it's important with our agent, at first, just like Andrei had said, we don't want to be vague. So if Rovo is our barista and I'm saying, hey, make me this coffee, I need to say, make me this coffee in this cup using this portafilter. Otherwise, it's going to say, oh, okay, shareable nuggets. Where do I put this? Right? So when you are building an agent in Rovo, you have to say, here are the tools Rovo has access to, and those are called skills. And that's essentially saying, like, it can create a Confluence page. It can send a message on Slack. It can craft a message on Gmail, those sorts of things. We need to define that specifically, including we need to say what knowledge it has access to. So another thing that we'll need to define is that it has access to our corporate style guide. So I'm going to maybe say that in the chat as well. I think that probably makes sense. Let's drop that in here. For the corporate style guide, I want this agent to use, I will, there's a specific Confluence page it should reference, period. So make sure it has access to that page. Okay, this is a little weird because we're not working in Gemini, but or we're not working in Rovo, but Gemini will give us notes to make sure that we give that access. We don't even need to include that in the final prompt, but yeah, that will be helpful for us to remember. Hey, thank you so much for subscribing, Niraj. It's great to have you here. I'm checking to make sure there are no questions. Someone commented that I mentioned switching models for agents, so that Atlassian has done that. In switching these models, it's impacted the outcome for my agent, especially the format. That is a real thing. Have you encountered this, Andrei, where a model has changed, and so while your prompt and the instructions you've given a model have not changed, the results are very different, or even slightly different?
Yeah, it's happened from time to time. And again, how to fix it, you need to be very specific with output. What assists me a lot personally to try to define some good examples and bad examples of output. it navigate the LLM in the right direction, especially if you need very specific output. You need 3 lines with title, subtitle, description of few sentences. Show this example. If you have a good example, show it. If you have bad example, based on your previous iteration with Rovo, also show it, like, never do it like that. Do it like this.
Yes. And one of the things you can now do in Studio Beta, the Atlassian Studio, where you build agents, and I'm hoping that we can look at that today. We're going to see if it's up or not, if it's working, is you can use a Rovo chat to improve your agent. And so you can say, hey, here is a page that was outputted from this, or a Jira work item. This is bad. Here's what's bad about it. And here's one that's good. This is what's good about it. We will see. Rustim's Rovo is fine today. I don't know what's happening in North America. Well, actually, no, I think we're seeing reports of it not working from my colleagues in Germany as well. So Rovo loves Rustim. What can I say? I want a t-shirt that says that. Okay, so y'all, let's ask Gemini to create this prompt for us. All right, I think it's got a lot of details here. So let's say, okay, I don't need to add that, actually. That just adds a little more compute power. Please create a prompt I can use when creating a Rovo agent for the Atlassian platform, period. Make sure it's detailed enough that the agent includes all the functionality we've talked about in this conversation. You all get to like see my executive functioning go. This is really how I work. So y'all are getting to see it live. All right, let's see. So Gemini is going to churn through this, and you can see again, Gemini, not an Atlassian tool, is going to create a prompt for our agent. So one thing that's really important to think about with prompts, and I think a lot of us, I just want to make sure that we think about context here. Prompting sounds, if you've never done anything like this, if you're used to tools where you point and click, the whole idea of prompting can seem very strange because it's just such a different way to interact with computers. The way I have started to think about it, which has helped me, is like, think about you're working with a new coworker, or you're working with a new coworker to define a new process or a new way of doing something, whatever. Then, like, we would have a conversation, right? We would have a conversation. Maybe we would come up with ideas. Maybe, we would document specific instructions. That has helped me a lot in understanding how to create prompts. You're not writing code, but you are thinking about business logic. You're not, pointing and clicking on a spreadsheet, but you are thinking about, here's all of the edge cases we need to consider. So think about it like talking to a person. It is not a person. That's not what I'm saying. Think about it like you're talking to a person, and use that part of your brain. Try to flex those skills. And that's why it can be really helpful to jump onto the ChatGPT mobile app, or the Claude mobile app, or the Gemini mobile app, and use that conversational interface to get yourself into that. And you can say, and I don't know, and what do you think about, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, Dustin, my speech to text does struggle with Rovo a lot. It says Rovo. Okay, so, oh, look at this. Gemini caught that. Since you're using Confluence and Slack, it's a safe bet you're building on Atlassian Rovo, which users sometimes call it Robo. Yeah. Okay, so here is our prompt. This is really, oh my gosh, look at this. It's actually given us a guide for how to specify what knowledge it has access to, the actions that it can take. Oh, this is very cool. Wow, Gemini, this is really helpful. Okay, Andrei, are there other things you think we should consider here before we try to put this into Rovo Studio and see what it does?
Let's just try it.
All right, we're going to do it. So I'm going to copy this from Gemini. Also, someone is wondering how Atlassian is handling tokens. Can we refine the agent to handle fewer tokens? That is a really excellent question. Rustem, Rustem, you're having a good time with Rovo. Andrei, do you know I don't know that there's really any control over tokens. By the way, y'all, with AI tools, you have a certain number of kind of a how much thinking power you are afforded. It's called tokens. I'm simplifying that a lot, but you can only spend so much a day or per hour. And so the question is, how do I make sure my agent doesn't just use up all of my thinking money? Do you know?
You cannot control tokens usage. Only one thing you are able to control, it's the context. How much context you put on it and what's the task. So as many page you will include in the context, as many tokens will be burned to process it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but that is that's the world we are living in currently. Okay, y'all. Here we go. I'm going to take us to Rovo Studio, and specifically, this is the new Studio beta that was announced. And honestly, this is what's that Batman quote of like, I'm not the hero you deserve, but I'm the hero you have right now, or whatever that is. First Studio was that, which was just kind of like not what I really wanted. Studio beta, this is next level. This is what we all actually want for building agents. So what Studio beta allows us to do is we're having a conversation here. Again, we're chatting with Rovo, and Rovo is going to help us build an agent, which is so cool. So, I mean, I can just drop it here. I can also go to the agents section. Let's just paste our prompt in here, and let's make sure. I'm just going to clarify, just because, again, this came from Gemini. Typically, I would just have a chat right in here even. I want to create an agent. Boom. Okay. So, and someone just asked a question. Is it possible to create first the instruction part and second ask Rovo to get the right skills? Is something like this possible? With Studio Beta, it will actually try to do those things for us. So it will try to put together all the instruction bits, all the different prompts it needs, and pick out the skills we need based on what we're asking for. So we're going to see how it does. We're going to see how it does. All right. What you going to do? Oh, no. No. Okay. All right. So this is always a fun part of a live demo that isn't working. I'm going to describe for you what would happen here. Typically, Rovo will actually, as Gemini did, it will talk us through what it's creating. I can say this confidently because I've seen it happen. It will walk it through. And let me show you an agent that it has. Rovo agents are getting upgraded to a new model. I know this. Oh, April 14th. I apologize. The full shift over to the Gemini model will be complete on April 14th, but all new agents are already using it. So let me take you to an agent that I built in the past. I am so sorry. I know this is hard with the learning context, but yeah. Someone asked, when is Studio Beta going to be GA? I do not know. I'm kind of hoping we hear something at Atlassian team coming up the beginning of May. It's feeling very ready to go, so I'm hopeful that we will all hear some niceness from them. Okay, so here is Studio, or here is my agent. So again, in that experience we saw, we should have been able to put our prompt in, and then we get something that looks like this. And so here is our agent. It has described it. This is a different agent. This one actually will take, I actually made this for myself. It will take different content you give it, and it will actually define your voice and tone, which is very helpful for me. I want an agent that helps me create like social media posts, but it just kept spitting stuff out that was very generic because it didn't have that context and those specific instructions that we've talked about. So this one helps us with that. So it defines the scenarios. In this case, it only does one thing. So there's only one scenario, only one task that it does. Here's the behavior here. So how it talks to me, how it interacts, which we have defined. Here are those skills that I mentioned. So here's the tools it can use. It can get Confluence pages, change them, rename them. Those are the things that are important here. And then in knowledge, it's currently pointing to all organizational knowledge. So everything in Confluence and Jira, all of my Atlassian tools, plus it can search the web because I wanted it to be able to take LinkedIn posts that I gave it and analyze those. And then finally, conversation starters. So things that it will suggest when I'm chatting with the agent to help me get going with it. So,
Short hint here.
yeah.
So when you're building the agent which should be focused on one particular page, it's better to remove all this knowledge, like all organizational knowledge, use external links, because sometimes it could go in the direction like fetching some pages from internet, searching something, getting more pages involved, and you don't need it. If you are sure that you're building agent for one particular page, like check grammar agent, or rewrite with my, I don't know, style agent, it's better to use one particular page only and do not involve any other pages.
I think that's such a good point. And actually, that is another great way to avoid hallucination, because if you give it access to all the things, again, this is kind of like if you had a new teammate and instead of saying like, hey, you're an event planner and like, go access everything and learn everything, or try to, you say, this is the space where we keep all of our content about event planning. Here's our Jira projects, here's our Google Drive stuff. It won't set anybody up for success if you give them unlimited access, unless, it's like web searching where they should have access because you need them to do specific things on the web. Same with skills. You need to be able to say, here are the tools you can touch. Here's what you can do with them. So I wanted to show you all, because again, I'm so sorry this example has broken down a bit, but we all have beautiful breakdowns from time to time. Let's allow Rovo to have that as well. I wanted to show you the prompts. So these are the prompts it has written. So again, always be chatting. Let the agent make prompts for itself. So I described this behavior to Rovo, and it has written this the way it finds most useful and most optimized for itself. So you can see it's written this, it's still readable to us as humans, but Rovo has specifically formatted this knowing that it's going to use it. Here's an important one for me as a person. Always use the Oxford comma. Always. Another one that I don't know if I have in here is do not use the M dash. Also, I don't use the word that unless I absolutely have to. These are like very personal ways I talk. Mix punchy fragments with explanatory sentences. Is that me? Oh my God, I feel like it's judging me. Anyway, these are some examples of prompts that it has written for itself. All right, y'all, if you have questions, please throw them into the chat. I know this is a bit different than what we expected. If you have just any questions on how to prompt, what are problems you're having with prompts, is there a specific tool you're having issues with, please throw those in now, because Andrei and I are here for that. Also, if you would love to just have like an hour where you can just ask questions about these things and we can just try to answer them, maybe with tools that are broken, maybe not, let us know. Andrei, here's a really great question from Ada. What's the ultimate prompting tip you wish you knew sooner? That's a great question.
Oh, yes. I think we need to start from the very beginning that I didn't know that it's a new skill. It's not just the place where you can ask the questions and get answers. It's a shift in skills. I suppose it's pretty similar to what happened when Google appeared. Because before Google appeared, you have to use some words with links and search information by your own. But when the Google became popular, there was a shift in skills where you need to learn how to search, and searching became a skill. And now we can see the same shift, and we need to learn how to prompt properly.
I love that so much. And I was going to say for me personally, I've taken several months here doing a lot of personal work because I struggled with a lot of different parts of AI. So much change. I don't think the builders of these large language models are being ethical or financially responsible, which gives me a lot of anxiety. Also just like this is such a new and different tool. We all are experts at something. And now I'm not the expert at this. I don't know exactly perfectly how to use this thing because it feels so open-ended. The power of it is that it's so open-ended. So I've had to lean into being an experimenter and less being an expert. And instead allowing or using these tools as part of my ideation process, my imagination, my dreaming, and that has helped me. So, and again, using those conversational tools, just let yourself run your mouth, right? Ask, talk to it. That can be really, really helpful. Another thing I wanted to share, and I will drop this into the chat. My partner Leo shared this with me actually, and this is a super cool, just Reddit post that someone posted in the Claude subreddit. So again, if someone is sharing tips for one AI tool, you can reference it because these often work in other tools. So they have some really cool tips about different prompts you can give it to change the way it responds. So for example, this one's really, you explained this to me yesterday, even if you're in a new chat, and then it'll say, the person says why they add these to their prompts. A really good one that I loved, yeah, you can say, give it an IQ score. So if you have an agent that keeps giving really simple answers and you're like, I just want like a really deep answer because that's just what I need for this, tell it like you have an IQ of 380. I think that's a high IQ score. Let me know in the chat. It will it will boost its own intellect in the response that it's giving. Pretend there's an audience. This is really cool. It changes up the structure. So there's some really, really also use obviously in your prompt. It'll actually correct you and explain nuances instead of being agreeable. These are really, really neat things. So I'm going to grab this link. You know what? Is there a shareable link in here? By the way, I do not promote the comments that are on this thread. I have no idea what people are saying. I'm going to drop that in. Check that out. There's some really creative things here. The URL is too long. Okay. All right. I can shorten that. I know how to shorten URLs. Boom. There we go. Check out that subreddit and maybe try some of those things out because it can be frustrating when your agents don't respond the way you want them to, or they're oversimplifying or undersimplifying. Any thoughts on that, Andrei?
Yeah, just wanted to mention that some which I'm using like every day, almost for every prompt. You already talked about it, but my one sounds a bit different. It's called Before You Start. Every time when I'm doing the prompt, in the very end, I'm asking, before you start, ask me any questions you need so I can give you more context. Be extremely comprehensive, so you don't need to make any assumptions. So this before you start, I'm put everywhere. It assists a lot to write the answers without trying to hallucinate or making some assumptions because of the lack of context.
I love that so much. I was going to say, in many of our tools, Gemini and ChatGPT at least, if not more, okay, menu not working. Let's refresh this page. You have if you go into settings and help, I think, there's an area where you can specify like default instructions. Gemini calls their agents gems. Do you know? Well, I don't want to dive too much into this because this is my work Gemini, but there is an area where you can have just a text field for like important stuff that you always want it to do. So for example, you might write in there, always ask questions for clarity. And then no matter what you're talking to that tool about, it will always do that. Or for me, you know, I have ADHD. So I will, and there's tons of research on the best ways to communicate with someone with ADHD. So I will, you know, I will say, hey, summarize things in bullet points. Don't give me more than 3 examples. You know, keep the examples short. There are like very data-driven things that make communication with people with ADHD more effective. So I've asked Gemini, when it's responding to me, to use those things, and it makes those responses more valuable to me. There is a very interesting question that I would love to answer. Can we have a markdown file added as a skill? This feature is available in GitHub, which is great for moving, which can help moving from monolithic agents. The answer currently is no, but I am playing around with sort of a workaround that would add, that would allow something like that. The real question here, for those of you who are like, what is this? Imagine you know, we talked about skills, which are basically like, what tools can our agent use? Imagine if you could actually very systematically say, hey, agent, I want you to go do a thing, schedule a meeting. Here is the business process we use in our company for scheduling meetings. Here's the exact steps, how every human being does it. Use this business logic when you go and schedule. In other tools, you can define those, and those are called skills. Tools like Claude Code, as an example. You cannot do that. It's not built into Rovo, but I'm playing around with it. So I will do another live stream soon on how you could do something like that. So please do subscribe, share this with your friends and your loved ones, and join us for another live stream as we get into building more advanced skills. And I shouldn't say we're building advanced skills and that requires advanced like coding knowledge. Very much the opposite. We're going to use human language to actually make our skills for our agents much more consistent and also human checkable, because we can actually look at what's the business logic it's supposed to be using. That would be really awesome. Also, Vivian, thank you for subscribing. It's great to have you here. All right, y'all, we have just a couple minutes to wrap this up. Thank you all for bearing with us, as this has been such a strange live stream. It's always strange when one of our co-presenters doesn't really show up. Andrei, thank you so much for joining and sharing some best practices. Y'all, let us know in the chat if Andrei should join again. I feel like he should, because I always like having an expert. Andrei, any last final, like a short tip you would share with everybody as they're, you know, doing more prompting and building agents and things?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. Thanks everyone for watching it. Very last one, maybe just try it. It's a new technology, it's a new skill, and you need to find out the best way how you can use it, how it could increase your productivity. Some of the tips maybe will work for you. Maybe you will find your own one which fits best for your needs. So don't afraid to try it. We all newbies here. We all just trying this technology, and there are so much potential to save time for our everyday work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining, Andrei. Yeah, and I would second that. Please do go try stuff. If you have the feeling that you are behind, you are not. Okay. You are right here with any of the rest of us. We are all learning this at the same time. It is very much like Google just came out and we're all like, what is this thing we can just type into and search? We are all in the same boat. There is no one who is doing much, much, much better than you. I promise you that. Thank you so much for joining. Y'all, if you haven't, check out our YouTube channel. It is full of really useful content all about the Atlassian Teamwork Collection and Rovo. Do check out, there are some recordings of recent live streams where we have done some work with agents, which has been really, really cool. We also have a really great video full of Rovo agent best practices, which has a lot of great content there. So definitely check out the K15T YouTube channel. If you haven't, please do subscribe there. Y'all, this has been such a pleasure. I would love to see you at our next live stream. We will definitely be looking at more Rovo stuff. We will look at improving our skills for Rovo agents in the near future. Really excited about that. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out another video, read one of our articles online, subscribe to our weekly Confluence newsletter, and join us wherever as we continue to explore how to use Confluence and the Teamwork Collection and Rovo and AI to share what you do best. Bye, everybody.